Hello my friends of Cosmic Agency, I am Gosha and today I'm going to share with you a short video, a small conversation, well not so small actually, quite important and interesting conversation between Robert and Yazhi, and this was last year, summer 2021, and it's about different things, but it started out and in general it is about the planetary ascension and all these different topics around it. I'm going to see you at the end of the video for additional comments. Enjoy! Originally in Spanish, August 2021.
So it's clear to me that, generally, we are here to have this 3D experience. There will be no ascensions and strange things like that because we are already ascended. You just have to stay here and leave having done your personal mind expansion work.
Okay, it is worth saying something important. The Earth has and maintains its collective unconscious, which is a creative manifesting force of attention from the source. That is, what the collective agrees on what is and is not real, possible and not possible, will create frequencies, because the thinking amalgamates with that of others, because all are connected, and therefore all together reinforce manifesting a reality according to their beliefs. This creates a soup of frequencies, which is what affects or defines a place or level or existential density. These mental frequencies are a high-frequency gravity flow or concentration of attention from the original source in the form of high gravitational frequencies. This means that just as on Earth, each planet or group of consciousnesses that creates a collective, and the collective itself can be seen as another thinking, creating entity. So the Earth has its collective unconscious, as does Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Cendrillon, Alphrata, Avion, Temer, Hera, or Pitoia. So as I have explained before, time, the temporal progression, that is, the animation of events and the speed with which they develop, is a byproduct directly related and proportional to the collective unconscious that generates it. Which explains why there are differences in time slip between the planets, all of them. Because the consciousness and its perception is different in each of them, since time and consciousness are two sides of the same coin. The perception of time cannot be given without consciousness, and being conscious depends on a temporal perception. Time is not a byproduct of consciousness, it is consciousness itself. Therefore, modify and control your consciousness, and you modify and control your time. You don't need time machines to travel through time. You don't need spaceships to go from place A, which everyone is running away from, to go to place B, which everyone wants to get to. You just need to control your consciousness.
Yes, and the Earth itself is projected the way it is, spherical, because that's the way she wants and manifests it, in the same way that I manifest myself before others, or you.
Yes, but at the level of consciousness of the Earth, which is the sum of those living inside it and those outside, It is the result of another soup of collective unconscious among planets, suns, and constellations, which in turn is part of another collective unconscious, which is the galactic level. And in turn, the cluster of galaxies will have its own collective unconscious, and so on, until it becomes the source itself. So whether the Earth is round, rather like a geode, does not depend so much on what the human collective unconscious imposes within, but mainly on the collective unconscious of galactic levels, of which the Earth is a part.
So Alcyone has hers and the others have theirs. So each solar system will have its frequency, and each galaxy and so on?
Yes, exactly. Each place, each system will have its frequency that is related to and is also being altered and influenced by its surroundings. As each place has its specific frequency, this can be and is used for stellar navigation, remembering that a frequency of a particular place is not something fixed, because it is consciousness. So it is a flow of consciousness that varies with the stimulus, thus giving a progression that is perceived as time.
Yes, I understand. That is why time, the perception of it, is different. Yes. But then the Earth affects this solar system with its low frequency?
In a way, yes. But remembering that the Earth, as well as any other being with consciousness, does not have a fixed frequency. It varies with the stimulus.
Yes, but from what we see, the consciousness of the Earth is going down, and this solar system, the galaxy too, because of Earth?
Seeing the stimulus of the regressive part of the Earth as a minimum, because it is a tiny part of the galaxy, it can also be seen that as the external collective unconscious in which the Earth is immersed is of higher frequency than itself, it would force it to rise using the principle of the dominant frequency that tends to equalize all frequencies. And this explains, from another angle, the famous planetary ascension. And those who do not develop a higher consciousness will remain in a low one, as I have explained before. The low frequencies equivalent to evil will tend to destroy themselves, because the main property of the regressive and malevolent is to be entropic, and therefore self-destruct. This explains why regressive beings and entities depend on beings with soul and consciousness to feed on their creative and manifesting force, since they themselves cannot sustain themselves because they tend to self-destruct.
Planetary ascension is the product of this stellar gear, so to speak, not by means of humanity itself generalizing. The problem is that the Earth will ascend with everything except humans because of their collective consciousness. I understand, yes. The lower consciousnesses are destroyed to reincarnate in another timeline according to them.
Earth has always been ascended. The problem is that humans do not see it through their collective unconscious, because they see everything through that lens of negativity imposed by the matrix. That is, they only see what they can see according to their level of frequency and perception, which depends on their level of personal and collective consciousness. So the Earth is not the problem, it is humans and their ideas.
They only see 60% as on Venus.
60% at most, because I see that most perceive much less than that. For example, those who do not even know that Venus exists or do not care about Venus, because it is not profitable in their daily lives. This is because they live in frequencies lower than 3D or 2D and its variants, using previous numerological explanations that do not fully reflect the objective external reality. I stopped using densities with numbers, as it is a very simplistic explanation.
Yes, that is why the Earth will continue its ascension except for humanity. I think the ancients were only referring to the ascension of the Earth and nature, not humanity.
It already is and always has been. The problem is humans and their perception, not the Earth. It's just that humans, always thinking that they live in a world that is external to themselves, understand in their own way that the Earth, what they perceive as external to themselves, will ascend. The Earth will not ascend, it already is. What will ascend or not is the humans or human collective that will then see as if the Earth has ascended. Humans and all beings with consciousness do not live in a world, but are the world they live in. It is all in their minds.
I understand. But Yazhi, one thing. The human unconscious is something that unfortunately is inserted into you as a child. Because you are not yet trained to discern at that time, your mental state is not yet developed. So that would be determinism? I think the child is not yet aware. For wanting to live, he adapts to all of that and lets himself be taken until he is an adult and wakes up.
The problem is that the baby child does bring the matrix with it from before birth, because it comes from their previous lives. So they are generating it even from the outside. This lends itself to seeing everything with determinism. The problem here with determinism is that determinism only exists by decision of the very collective and individual to experience that determinism as the very definition of living in a material, corporal world. That is to say that this determinism, which is real, is a conscious manifestation intended to be experienced as such, and not an inherent quality of the universe itself.
So there is no determinism. Everything is by prenatal agreements.
Yes.
It is true, I understand. Those who are incarnated from the lower astral are the same ones who are in this wheel. That is why we are here, and because of their frequency level compatible with this collective unconscious. Yes.
The wheel of samsara only exists as a manifestation of the expectations of the individual himself and his collective. Using or quoting Carl Jung, all the problems of mankind, even natural disasters, wars, diseases, and tragedies, are not the result of external forces, but are the result of its mental disorder.
You are right, yes. Apart from that, you come to Earth to experience this world. That is why the Earth will continue as it is, with poor and rich.
As long as the collective desires it, yes. And the souls who enter do so because they are in accord with that experience. That is, because that is what they wish to experience. And the souls that live there within that collective, rejecting the idea of having desired to experience that, have either entered with other stellar ideas of service and inspiration for others, or have evolved there, changing internally to the degree that they are no longer compatible with living within that human collective.
Those are the ones that will go.
And they are the ones that will leave, yes.
But first, they will live this.
Yes.
They only come to wake up others.
Yes, and to follow their own evolution from their point of view.
Hello my friends, well, how did you like this? I like this very much, and there are several points that I would like to mention which I found interesting and important. And the first point is when Yazhi explains that every planet, every sun, every star, including Earth, has its own collective unconscious, which is an amalgamation and a fusion of all the consciousnesses that live inside it. That's right, not only on the surface, but those civilizations who are actually living inside Earth. That's right. And also the amalgamation of the ones that live on the surface. So all our mental frequencies and thoughts and personal and collective ideas of what is possible, what is not possible, what is real, what is not real, it all fuses and merges and amalgamates and forms this huge entity, this one specific entity, which is Earth, which is the collective unconscious of the Earth. And this way, every single planet out there, Temer, Erra, Cendrillon, Mars, and star, and galaxies, and it goes up all the way to the source, it has its own collective unconscious, and it has its own ideas, it has its own agreements, its own perceptions, and that's how it is. And that's how it is. It's just a point that is quite interesting, and it all interacts with each other. And also, this is something that actually explains why there is this temporal slip between planets. As they always say, there is different time or time flowing differently in different planets, and that's why, because each planet has its own collective unconscious agreements and perceptions, and that forms its perception of time. Because time and consciousness, that's just something that is so connected and related. It's one, as Yazhi and Athena keep reminding us. So that's that. And also here the planetary ascension can be explained in a way that since the collective unconscious of the Earth is not separate, it's not isolated, it is immersed in a sea, in a soup of collective consciousness of other planets, other galaxies, other star systems, etc. And those have a certain frequency. So Earth, since it is immersed in that soup of frequencies, by the principle of dominant frequency, it will have to match at some point, or whatever maybe it is now. Well, as Yazhi explains here, it is already ascended, it's just that we're not perceiving it. It will match the frequency of dominant frequency in the place that surrounds it. So that's very interesting here as well. And also the point that I liked was at the end when Yazhi is talking about the star seeds and how, even though everybody is here because they wanted to be here, that was their decision, that was your decision to be here, whether you remember it, whether you like it or not, you are here because you chose to be here. But in a way, because there is that dominant frequency of the collective humanity, we are in a way dragged into that dominant frequency of the humans. Even though that's why we are here, we are trying to rewire that and reprogram and reroute that somewhere else to create another layer over that dominant frequency and infuse that human collective dominant frequency with new ideas, with new perceptions, and reprogram that. But still, it can be said that we are dragged, starseeds, we are dragged into that lower frequency, dominant frequency of the planet. And that's why it's causing all these frustrations and sadnesses and miseries that the starseeds feel. But you have to remember, like she said, that you chose to be here. And if you really feel you did not choose to be here, and it's just not something you decided to, you don't want to be here, well, then maybe also you are one of the starseeds that were here longer and simply reached a certain level in your soul's evolution where you feel you are no longer a match to this place, and that's why you feel this way. You have benefited from this place as much as was possible, and you got from this experience as much as possible. You grew, you learned, you woke up, and you are now ready for something else. And this is a good thing. This is a good feeling. This is a good realization to have, even though you feel you are miserable and this and that. But the fact that you are miserable means that you are not a match to this miserable place, so to speak, where the system is so enslaving and there's so much control and manipulation. So it's a good thing. It means that you rose above it and you transcend it and you are ready for more. And when you, and I don't know if that more will come during this life. I'm talking about some kind of a external thing happening, even though, as we always say, it's an internal thing reflecting outwards, or whether this is going to be something that you will manifest for yourself after you leave this plane. But either way, it's going to be okay, it's going to be good, and you will be where you're meant to be. So that's that. There is so much more in this video, but I don't want to make it any longer. You all have your own thoughts and perceptions from this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm going to see you in the next one, and we will talk about soul traps. And many people talk about how there are some soul trapping machines and memory erasing machines after death. I think those of you who know us, you will know what this video will say. But if you are new, and even if you are not new, I think it's going to be very interesting. We'll clarify that. It's going to be Athena clarifying this topic mainly, and also a short message from Yazhi. So thank you very much for watching. I'm going to continue here enjoying this forest for a while. Bongo is somewhere around with Matthias walking around waiting for me. So I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for your support, for your interest, for your curiosity, and for your open mind. Thank you very much, and until next time.